There are over 18 million acres of alfalfa grown in the United States. Much of the seed for this crop comes from Idaho. Alfalfa seed production starts with the planting of seeds, either in the fall or the spring, producing a seed crop the following summer. Although alfalfa hay fields are harvested 2 to 5 times per year, only one seed crop is produced from an alfalfa seed field each year. The timing of the production cycle needs to occur when the climate is conducive to pollinator activity, flower production, and good harvest weather. To produce alfalfa seed, the plant has to change from vegetative growth to reproductive growth. Growers assist in this process by maintaining very low plant populations and by deficit irrigating, placing the plant under controlled water stress. Low plant populations allow for sturdier plants that resist lodging and a more open, well-ventilated crop canopy. This encourages flower production, reduces disease pressure and seed losses late in the season. It also facilitates pollinator activity and insect control. Idaho's seed production area only receives about 10 inches of rain annually. So even though some moisture stress is desirable, growers still need to apply between 10 and 25 inches of irrigation water through furrow, sprinkler, or drip irrigation during the growing season.
Here in southern Idaho and eastern Oregon, we've got a great seed producing area. We've got a very dry climate that doesn't attribute to a lot of disease pressure. So we're very fortunate in that aspect, and we've got a fairly mild summer. You know, it's nice and warm, we get good bee activity, and we don't have a lot of weather. Typically we can get our crops out and we create a very consistent yielding crop.
Growers will delay the crop through a clipping process or by tilling the field in April or May. The alfalfa then grows back and begins flowering in June, when temperatures are warm enough for our main pollinator, the leafcutter bee. Weed control is a big challenge. Thin stands do not compete with weeds very well. Typically, a combination of mechanical and chemical weed control are employed. Most important is the use of pre-emergent herbicides that are applied in the fall and spring. Fortunately, growers have a wide selection of these herbicides, which are chosen to match the weed species present. Arguably, the most critical and difficult aspect of alfalfa seed production is insect pest management. Alfalfa weevil, pea aphids, spotted aphid, spider mites, and lygus bugs, if not controlled, can devastate seed crops in Idaho fields. Unfortunately, the same time that insect pollinators are needed in the field and must be protected, the alfalfa seed is most vulnerable to insect attack. To deal with these conflicting goals, growers employ the use of broad-spectrum, non-selective insecticides if insects are present prior to bloom. It is critical to go into the bloom period with very low insect pest pressure. During bloom, growers use insecticides that have a softer chemistry that are highly selective. After bloom, the broad-spectrum insecticides are often needed again to ensure that the maturing seed is protected from damage until harvest. Growers employ pest scouting to identify and quantify the pest problems prior to employing control measures and only spray for insects that are present at levels above the economic threshold. These thresholds have been established through years of both public and private research. It is critical that growers have continued availability of labeled insecticides and a continued focus on bringing new products to market, so we can avoid building resistant pest populations due to the overuse of any single product.
Our main concern is protecting those bees. Without those pollinators, we wouldn't have a crop. So from there, it's all about protecting those bees, making sure they can do their job, as well as building up other beneficials, ladybugs, minute pirate bugs, those kind of things. They really benefit us in many ways. The goal is to use the mix of chemistries that will help us control the lygus while still keeping our bees safe throughout the year.
Idaho alfalfa seed growers are entirely dependent upon the leafcutter bee to pollinate their alfalfa seed crop, and in turn, leafcutter bees rely on human management for their survival. They do not create honey, but instead focus on their reproduction. Pollination of the alfalfa plant is critical to their life cycle. Leafcutters are a solitary bee that makes its nests in the holes of either wood or styrofoam blocks that are provided for the bees in the field. The larvae are stored over winter at about 35 degrees Fahrenheit. About 21 days prior to needing the bees' pollination services, the bees are warmed up to about 86 degrees Fahrenheit for incubation. As the males start to emerge, the bees are taken to the fields and placed into shelters, which protect them from the elements. When the females emerge, they will mate one time with a male and then begin foraging for pollen and nectar on the alfalfa flowers. This foraging will cause the tripping of the alfalfa flower, resulting in a transfer of pollen from one flower to another, or cross-pollination. The female leafcutter bee then takes the pollen and nectar back to her nest to feed the single egg which she will lay in it. The nest is built by the leafcutter bee with the cut leaves of the alfalfa plant. Each female leafcutter bee will create multiple nests over her 6 to 8 week lifespan. Growers typically provide about 50,000 bees per acre of production. After pollination is complete, the leafcutter bee larvae, which are contained in the blocks, are taken out of the field and kept for next year's production. Bee larvae can be kept over winter in their blocks, or they can be punched out. Taking the larvae out of the block and handling them as loose cells allows the grower to run them across cleaners that remove the dead or diseased nests, and then return them to clean nesting material the following year. The final activity of the production cycle is seed harvest. About 30 days after pollination is complete, the alfalfa plants are dried so a combine can thresh the seeds out of the pods and separate the seed from all other plant material. Once harvested, the seed is delivered to a seed company for processing and sale to the end user, the alfalfa hay grower.
A lot of what we do is we're linking the chain, and a lot of people don't get to see this because alfalfa seed isn't seen by the general public. It's going to mainly be seen by the growers that feed the cows. So alfalfa seed is a vital crop to grow, and it's very vital for our area. Just the last 2 years, over 15,000 acres of alfalfa seed were grown in the state of Idaho alone. And it makes a large impact, even though we're kind of the hidden crop when it comes to seed production.
So the next time you drink a glass of milk or enjoy a steak dinner, think about the alfalfa seed farmer and the stewardship of resources that brings us the products we are able to enjoy as part of everyday life. Chances are, the food and drink you have every day began with alfalfa seed.